Look, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who's seen too many good men, men with decades of life experience under their belts, completely freeze up after a late life breakup. It's like hitting a wall you never saw coming, and suddenly the path forward just disappears. What you're about to hear isn't just some theory. It's the exact playbook my neighbor, Frank, used to pull himself out of that dark place. And trust me, I've double-checked the science to make absolutely sure these strategies aren't just feel-good ideas, but things that actually work. If you're over 60 and your chest feels like it's wrapped in barbed wire, or maybe your days just feel empty, then you need to stick around. By the time we're done, you won't just have a vague idea of what to do. You'll have a day-by-day map, a clear path out of the mess, and into a life that doesn't just replace the one you lost, but one that feels bigger, richer, and more authentically yours. This isn't about forgetting. It's about building anew. Strategy 1. Rebuild the social infrastructure. Frank's first shock wasn't the empty side of the bed, though that hit hard, of course. It was the empty calendar. Think about it. For years, he and his wife had a routine. Every Wednesday night, they played cards with 3 other couples. Dinner parties, holiday gatherings, Sunday brunches. Their social life was intertwined, a beautiful, complex web. Then overnight, those invitations just stopped. The well-meaning whispers he heard were always the same. We don't want to pick sides. Sound familiar? It's a common, heartbreaking reality for many men in this situation. The social infrastructure you spent decades building suddenly crumbles. You're left feeling isolated, adrift, and honestly, a little invisible. Here's what Frank did, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. First, he took the paper calendar off the fridge, the one filled with shared memories and plans that were now defunct. He flipped it to a blank page. A symbolic gesture, yes, but a powerful one. It was a clear signal to himself. The old schedule was gone, and it was time to write a new one. Then, he committed to one fixed appointment a day, every single day, for a week straight. Coffee at the same local cafe at 8 a.m. No agenda, no pressure, just showing up. The first few days felt awkward, almost pointless. He'd sit there, nursing his coffee, feeling a bit foolish. But by day 4, the barista, a friendly young woman named Sarah, started recognizing him. They exchanged pleasantries. On day 5, she introduced him to another regular, an older gentleman who always read the paper at the corner table. Within 10 days, Frank knew 4 names, not just faces, and had an unexpected invite to his Saturday morning walking group. It wasn't a grand social comeback, but it was a crack in the wall, a tiny thread reweaving his social fabric. Psychologists call this environmental scaffolding. You're not waiting for motivation to strike, because let's be honest, when your heart's hurting, motivation is often nowhere to be found. Instead, you engineer unavoidable contact. You create a structure, a routine, that gently pushes you back into the world. It's a subtle but incredibly effective way to combat loneliness. A 2022 University of Hamburg study on seniors re-entering social life after bereavement found that consistently doing something like this for just 7 consecutive days can drop feelings of loneliness by roughly 30%. That's a significant shift, wouldn't you agree? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I'm not going to grovel for friends. I've lived a full life. I shouldn't have to. And you're right, this isn't groveling. This is logistics. It's about being smart, proactive, and strategic. A repeatable time and place, a consistent presence, equals a fresh social circle. You don't need exceptional small talk skills or to be the life of the party. You just need to show up. The rest, the connections, the conversations, they tend to follow naturally. It's about planting seeds, not demanding an immediate harvest. And frankly, having a supportive community around you is a cornerstone of healing, providing comfort and practical advice when you need it most. Strategy 2, move like you mean it. Day 8, Frank's knees barked, and not just a little. They screamed. He hadn't really exercised since, well, let's just say Clinton's first term. His body had settled into a comfortable, sedentary rhythm. But that walking crew he joined? They met at 7:30 a.m. sharp. So, with a groan and a cheap fitness band strapped to his wrist, he showed up. His one rule, his non-negotiable, was simple. Keep his heart rate above 95 beats per minute for 15 minutes. That's it. Not an hour-long marathon, not a sprint, just 15 minutes of elevated effort. What happened next surprised him. Within 4 weeks, his resting pulse dropped 8 beats. That's a measurable, tangible improvement in cardiovascular health. But what really stunned him was how his rumination time, that endless loop of replaying conversations, regrets, and what-ifs, shrank. It didn't vanish completely, but it quieted down, became less insistent. Why does this happen? It's not magic, it's biology. Moderate cardio boosts something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your neurons. It helps new brain cells grow, strengthens existing connections, and essentially speeds up emotional recovery. It's like giving your brain the tools it needs to repair itself. The Mayo Clinic recommends 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week for people over 60. Frank didn't even hit that target, managing about 90 minutes, and still felt a profound improvement. It wasn't just physical. It was a mental and emotional lift he hadn't anticipated. So where do you start? Don't aim for a triathlon. Start right where you are. Walk to the mailbox and back. Then, tomorrow, walk to the next driveway. The day after, add one more lamppost. The key here isn't intensity, it's consistency. When your heart is already working overtime with emotional pain, consistency beats intensity every single time. This isn't about becoming an athlete. It's about reclaiming your body and, in doing so, reclaiming a piece of your peace of mind. It's a vital component of self-care, a way to build resilience not just physically, but mentally too. Strategy 3. Morning pages, night pages. Frank, like many men his age, thought journaling was for teenagers or, as he put it, people with too many feelings. He was a practical man, not one for navel-gazing. But he was desperate, so he tried it. Every morning, he'd write 3 pages, longhand, about whatever nonsense was in my skull. No editing, no judgment, just a stream of consciousness. And every night, before bed, 3 bullet points. 1. One thing that ticked me off today. 2. One thing that made me smile today. 3. One thing I'll try tomorrow. After 30 days, he'd filled 90 pages. His hand ached, but something profound had shifted. He started noticing patterns. He realized he wasn't actually angry at his ex for leaving. He was terrified of managing the house, finances alone. That fear, once unearthed and articulated, became something he could address. He booked an appointment with a fee-only financial planner, and just like that, the amorphous, suffocating fear dropped by half. It was still there, but it was manageable. This isn't just Frank's experience. The American Psychological Association confirms that expressive writing, the act of putting your thoughts and feelings down on paper, reduces intrusive thoughts about a breakup by roughly 28% after just 4 sessions. You don't need fancy leather-bound notebooks or a special pen. A 50-cent spiral pad from the drugstore works just fine. The important thing is the act itself. Keep it private. This isn't for sharing. Keep it messy. Grammar and spelling don't matter. And most importantly, keep it daily. It's a powerful tool for self-reflection and awareness, helping you to process grief and identify those underlying emotions and patterns that might be holding you back. It's about getting all that internal noise out of your head and onto the page, creating space for clarity and healing. Strategy 4. The 2-week digital detox. Late-night scrolling through her Facebook page was Frank's preferred brand of self-torture. He knew it was bad, knew it fueled the pain, but he couldn't stop himself. It was a morbid curiosity, a desperate attempt to cling to a past that was already gone. He'd see photos of her, maybe with mutual friends, and his stomach would clench. The comparisons, the what-ifs, the unfairness of it all. It was a toxic cocktail. So he took a drastic step. He installed a simple browser plugin that blocked her profiles and, crucially, blocked every mutual friend who posted about her for 14 days. He called it electronic morphine, and it felt like pulling off a very sticky, painful Band-Aid. The first 3 nights were excruciating. He literally itched to click, to check, to feed that unhealthy obsession. His fingers would hover over the keyboard, driven by habit and a perverse desire for more pain. But he held firm. By night 5, something shifted. Without the constant digital reminders, his mind started to clear. He picked up a Lee Child novel, a real, physical book, and read 2 chapters. That night, he slept 7 hours straight, something he hadn't done in months. Research backs this up. Scientists at UC Irvine found that limiting exposure to an ex's social media feed accelerates emotional recovery by an average of 6 weeks in subjects aged 18 to 70. For seniors, with fewer new memories constantly competing for brain space, the benefit is even sharper. It's like giving your brain a much-needed break from the constant re-traumatization. Turning off the feed doesn't mean you're bitter, angry, or try to erase her from existence. It means you're busy healing. It means you're prioritizing your mental well-being over a digital addiction that offers nothing but pain. Set a calendar reminder to reevaluate after 14 days. Odds are you won't miss the drama. You'll be too busy enjoying the newfound peace and the quiet space in your mind. This is a practical application of mindfulness, helping you stay present and reduce stress by not dwelling on the past. Strategy 5. Micro-adventure rule. Frank's grandson, bless his honest little heart, told him, "Grandpa, you're boring." That stung. It wasn't malicious, just an innocent observation, but it was enough to spark a change. Frank realized he had become boring. His world had shrunk, and his routine had become a cage. So, he set a rule for himself. Every Tuesday, he had to do one thing he'd never done before, within a 20-mile radius of his home. It could be visiting a new diner, photographing a Civil War plaque, or even trying something utterly ridiculous like disc golf. The cost cap was $15, the time cap 2 hours. Keep it simple, keep it accessible. Neuroscientists have a name for this: novelty-seeking behavior. And here's the fascinating part. It lights up the same reward pathways in your brain that are activated during new romance. But here's the crucial difference. It comes without the emotional risk. You get the dopamine hit, the excitement, the feeling of discovery, without the potential for heartbreak. After 6 micro-adventures, a trip to a local art gallery, an hour spent watching planes take off at a small airport, a walk through a historical cemetery, Frank realized something profound. He wasn't just grieving a person, he was grieving the routine he'd shared with that person. He was grieving the predictability, the comfortable sameness. New stimuli, fresh experiences, began to rewire his brain, shifting its focus from loss to curiosity. This strategy is about actively engaging in self-discovery, rekindling that spark of wonder you might have thought was gone. Pick a cheap, nearby adventure. It doesn't have to be grand. Put it on a calendar and treat it like a prescription. You wouldn't skip your medication, would you? Don't skip your micro-adventure. Refill it weekly. It's a powerful way to inject joy and purpose back into your life, helping you build resilience by showing yourself that new experiences are still out there, waiting for you. Strategy 6. The resentment inventory. By month 3, Frank still caught himself replaying arguments. The same old fights, the same old grievances circling endlessly in his head. He'd be washing dishes, and suddenly, he'd hear her voice, his voice, the accusations, the justifications. It was exhausting and kept him tethered to the past. So, he tried a technique often borrowed from substance abuse recovery programs: the resentment inventory. Here's how it works. You list every single resentment you hold. Don't hold back. Write them all down. Then, for each item, you ask yourself a critical question: what boundary did I fail to set? For example, Frank resented his ex for spending $6,000 on a cruise without asking him. But as he dug deeper, he realized he'd never actually voiced that joint purchases over $500 needed to be discussed. He'd assumed it was understood, but an assumption isn't a boundary. He'd simply grumbled internally, let it fester, and then resented her for crossing a line she didn't even know existed. Taking ownership of your boundaries doesn't excuse bad behavior from others. Not at all. What it does is restore your sense of control. It shifts the focus from what they did to me to what I will tolerate next time. This is incredibly empowering. A 2021 Johns Hopkins study of divorce seniors showed that shifting focus from external blame to internal boundary setting cut depressive symptoms almost in half within 8 weeks. That's a significant improvement simply by reframing your perspective. So, grab a piece of paper, fold it in half. On the left column, write down every resentment that pops into your head. Don't filter. On the right column, next to each resentment, write down the boundary you'll maintain in the future. Stick it on the fridge. Read it daily. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even a bit self-blaming. But keep at it. Soon, you'll notice that the resentment starts to feel like yesterday's weather, something that happened, but no longer has power over your present. This practice is all about forgiveness, not necessarily of the other person, but of yourself, allowing you to let go of the emotional burden and move forward with greater peace. It's a profound act of self-awareness. Strategy 7. Design a future self-avatar. This strategy is about vision. Frank pictured himself at 75. Not just vaguely, but vividly. He saw himself lean, suntanned, volunteering at the local aquarium, and, yes, dating a woman who could salsa. He didn't just dream it. He designed this future self. Then he reverse-engineered what that guy would do today. The 75-year-old Frank, the avatar, didn't eat fast food every day, so neither did 62-year-old Frank. The avatar had a passport, ready for adventure, so Frank applied for one, even though he hadn't planned a trip yet. It was a commitment, a statement to himself. Psychologist Hal Hirschfield's MRI studies at UCLA show that people who write letters to their future self significantly increase their long-term savings and overall life satisfaction. In heartbreak terms, what you're doing is giving your brain a compelling waypoint, a destination past the pain. You're not just floating aimlessly. You're steering towards a specific, desirable future. This isn't about escaping the present. It's about shaping it with purpose. Write a short paragraph, just a few sentences describing you 10 years from now. Be specific. What does your health look like? Your relationships? Your finances? What hobbies are you pursuing? What kind of person have you become? Read it aloud every single morning. Let today's small choices, what you eat, how you spend your time, who you connect with, be pulled forward by that future gravity, rather than constantly being pushed and dictated by past regret. This is a powerful exercise in self-discovery and resilience, allowing you to actively construct a new narrative for your life, one where you're the author, not just a character reacting to circumstances. If even one of these strategies resonated with you, if it gave you a glimmer of hope or a flicker of an idea, please hit that like button. Seriously, it tells YouTube to show this video to another guy who's probably stuck doom scrolling at 2 a.m., feeling lost and alone. And while you're at it, consider subscribing. My channel isn't about quick fixes. It's basically a toolbox, a practical guide for men who refuse to let age or heartbreak write their ending. Let's build something better, together. Putting it all together, a sample 30-day roadmap. Healing isn't linear, and it certainly isn't a race. But having a roadmap, even a loose one, can make all the difference. Frank didn't do everything all at once. He built momentum, step by painful, deliberate step. Here's a sample of what a 30-day plan could look like, inspired by his journey. Asterisk Week 1. Social infrastructure plus morning/night pages. Start small. Commit to that daily coffee or a similar fixed social appointment. Get those thoughts out of your head and onto paper. This lays the groundwork, addressing immediate isolation and mental clutter. You're creating a baseline of external connection and internal processing. Asterisk Week 2. Add digital detox plus walk to the mailbox protocol. Once you have a little routine established, tackle the digital distractions. Block out those toxic feeds. Simultaneously, begin the physical movement, even if it's just a few extra steps each day. This week is about removing negative inputs and adding gentle positive ones. Asterisk Week 3. Layer in micro-adventures. With a bit more clarity and a touch more energy, start exploring. Introduce that weekly micro-adventure. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about rekindling curiosity and showing yourself that joy and novelty still exist. It's about rediscovering the world around you, one small, exciting step at a time. Asterisk week 4. Resentment inventory plus future self avatar. Now that you've built some external and internal scaffolding, you're ready for deeper work. Confront those lingering resentments and define the boundaries you need to protect yourself moving forward. And crucially, begin painting that picture of your future self, giving yourself something powerful to move towards. Frank followed this loose schedule. Some days, he backslid hard. He'd miss a coffee, skip a walk, or fall into an old thought pattern. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a messy, winding path with detours and potholes. But by day 30, something remarkable had happened. He could say her name without a surge of cortisol, without that familiar clench in his gut. And he booked a weekend cabin with a walking crew, something the old Frank, the married Frank, would have labeled an unnecessary splurge. He was investing in his new life, not just reacting to the end of the old one. It's not just Frank's story. The science backs this up. A 2023 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Aging Studies looked at 1,400 adults aged 60 to 79 post-breakup. The findings were compelling. Participants who actively combined social re-engagement, like Frank's coffee dates and walking group, consistent physical activity, even small steps, and future-focused narrative, like the future self-avatar, reported a 47% boost in life satisfaction compared to those who simply relied on time alone or passive coping mechanisms. The translation here is crystal clear. Active strategies beat passive waiting at every age, but the effect is strongest after 60. Why? Because at this stage of life, baseline routines are often already disrupted by retirement, changes in friendships, or health concerns. A breakup, while devastating, can also become a powerful catalyst for positive change, forcing you to reevaluate and rebuild in ways you might not have otherwise. It's an opportunity for profound personal growth and self-discovery, allowing you to emerge with greater resilience and a deeper understanding of yourself. Last week, Frank and I were grabbing coffee at his usual 8 a.m. spot, naturally, and he told me something that really stuck with me. "I don't miss her," he said, looking out the window. "I miss the idea of us. And that, my friends, is healthy differentiation. That's not forgetting, that's growing." The goal here isn't emotional amnesia. It's not about erasing a lifetime of memories or pretending she never existed. That's impossible and, frankly, unhealthy. The goal is emotional graduation. You remember the class, you acknowledge the lessons learned, the good times and the bad, but you're no longer enrolled. You've moved on to the next stage. If you consistently practice these 7 habits, if you put in the work, that persistent ache in your chest gets gradually replaced by anticipation. Anticipation for what's next. Anticipation for your future. And then, one day, you'll realize it. You haven't mentioned your ex in a week, or 2, or a month. That, Frank realized, is the metric that truly matters. That's when you know you're truly healing. Heartbreak after 60 can feel like the closing credits of your life, the final scene. But I'm here to tell you, with absolute certainty, that it's actually the opening scene of a brand new act. It's a life where you call the shots, where you budget your time for joy, where you decide what fills your calendar. And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself on a cruise ship, salsa dancing with a new partner, a cruise ship you booked for yourself. Don't let the fear of starting small stop you. Pick just one strategy tonight, just one, and commit to acting on it tomorrow morning. Your future self, that 75-year-old lean, suntan salsa dancer, is already applauding you. Drop a comment below and tell us which habit you're starting with. Let the next guy who's feeling lost see that he's not alone in this rebuild. Subscribe for more practical roadmaps, more real talk, and more ways to make this chapter your best one yet. And always remember, the best days aren't behind you. They're waiting for you to catch up.